Hey, welcome back. I want to talk to you about a very important topic today, which has a massive influence on your life and on your success. And that's the topic of standards. Standards basically means the minimum you are willing to accept. Okay? The minimum you are willing to accept. And that can be in relationships, that can be in business, that can be in your job, that can be in your finances. Standards basically means you have set a barrier where you don't accept something falling beneath that. And standards are so important because standards really determine how much work you put in, basically, right? Because let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. If you have a standard that you go out a couple of times a week, for example, and you go out to restaurants, etc., because you enjoy it a lot, well, then that's a standard you've set for yourself, and most probably you're going to be spending your money on that. You're going to make it happen. Let's say in your relationships, right? People treat you with respect. Right? People treat you with respect, people listen to you when you talk, etc. That's a standard you've set for yourself. If people wouldn't do that, you wouldn't hang around with them. And so these standards are very important. And most people, let me tell you this, have very low standards, unfortunately. They have very, very low standards. But what you need to understand is once you start raising the bar, once you start raising your standards, all your action needs to be directed towards that. And you will see your direction will fall in line if it is important to you. Because standard also means that something is important to you, right? It means you value something. I'll give you a little story from my own life. When I used to study, right, and I come from very humble beginnings, I didn't have money, okay, which meant I used to have to use public transport to go back home from where I studied. It was quite far away. And so every time I would want to go back home, I could have comfortably taken a train, for example, or I would have had a car. But in this case, I didn't. So I would have to wait for these stupid Flix buses, right? Where I would wait there in winter. Sometimes they'd be canceled and stand there for 2 hours in the rain, waiting for some bag to take this bus, which would take 6 hours instead of 2 to get home. And this would piss me off so bad that I decided that once I'm finished studying and I start working, I will never ever have to use public transport again. I will always have sufficient means for Uber, for taxi, for cars, for planes, etc. I will never get on one of these buses again. That's a standard I set for myself. Now you might think, but this doesn't apply to me. Of course, it doesn't have to. But I'm just giving you an example here of how I set a standard for myself, and I've always followed up on that. And I've done it for such a sufficient time now that I will never fall below this standard anymore. I can't, like my brain can't even imagine falling below this standard. I will always have enough means, always have enough money to make this happen. So if you want to take this example for yourself, in your relationships, in your business, in your finances, whatever, what I can tell you today is do the following. First of all, be aware of your low standards. Be aware of your low standards. Be aware of people not treating you well. Be aware of it annoying you. Be aware of your standard being low and take responsibility for your low standard and the fact that these results are coming into your life. Firstly. Secondly, you want to set a higher standard and be like, I want to achieve this. This is important to me, right? You want to set that standard, which doesn't mean anything has changed yet. But thirdly, and now we get into the action, you want to constantly not only be aware, but act towards the standard, right? Do what is relevant and necessary. If people don't respect you, call the people out and be like, respect me. These are my boundaries, okay? If it is something regarding your finances, put in the work. Put in the work, put in the 60, 70, 80-hour week. Get the money, raise your standard, and live up to that standard, right? So awareness, okay, awareness, set the higher standard, raise the bar. Thirdly, action. Actionable little steps. Define those little steps. Usually you can break every problem down into little steps, every goal down to little steps, and then you will see that you're moving towards this because you've shown your brain the way. If your brain doesn't know the way towards the goal, you can't get there by definition. You have to define the goal and then you move towards the goal. Okay, let me know what you think of standards. Super important thing in my life. I'm constantly working on raising the bar, raising my standards, not getting too comfortable and not putting up with any bullshit, okay? Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, leave a follow, of course, and share this with anybody who needs to hear about standards. See you soon.